A second. Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. And you better be mighty faithful by now, Bruce, or you're not watching this or listening to it. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy, who was at the game with his wife.
Yeah, I was fateful. Fate had it that somebody offered me tickets to today's game, and so we kind of split the deal today. My friend paid for the tickets and gave them away as his business, whereas all I had to do was watch the game. So that was my contribution.
It's the Oilers' annual post-Christmas. Used to happen in late November, of course, that they would completely fall apart.
Well, or both.
Yeah, this is the annual post-Christmas. Until then, barely hanging on, but now actually before Christmas they were at 500, so that's actually pretty darn good. But man, they have just, the wheels have fallen off completely, Bruce. They were absolutely crushed by San Jose tonight. The scoring chances were 13-6 for San Jose, and they just had their way with the Oilers. It was
I'm surprised
men
it was
against
that
boys.
close.
Yeah.
I said to Anna after the first period, when the score was only 2-1, that and the shots were 12-12, and I looked at that and I said, it seems like, though, if you counted up like the emergencies around Talbot versus Martin Jones, it seemed like there was like 5 emergencies around the Oilers crease for every one there was at San Jose's, which is what you would call a grade A scoring chance.
Yeah, 6-1 for San Jose in the first period, Bruce. And San Jose also scored on 2 grade B shots, grade B scoring chances. So there's that. So this is our 2 good things, 3,000 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. So let's start with your. Do you have a good thing? Did you find one?
Yeah, I got a good thing. I already told you one. I didn't have to pay for the tickets. Second one was the opportunity to watch the great Erik Karlsson play in a live game. And originally I thought that he was serving the second of a 2-game suspension they took just before Christmas, and I was kind of disappointed to be missing him. And then I found out, no, San Jose had played both the Saturday and Sunday before Christmas. So his first game of his suspension was the Sunday after he made the bad hit on the Saturday. And then he played on Thursday like almost all the teams did. So he was out of jail today and roaming the ice like a free man. He certainly didn't have any Edmonton Oilers in his way at any point. And he played an absolutely masterful game. It was a joy to watch. As a hockey fan, I loved it. As an Oilers fan, I hated it, because he just completely had his way with the Oilers. I mean, this is a defenseman we're talking about today, and here's his stats: 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, plus 5. When was the last time an Oiler D-man had a game like that?
Yeah, the Oilers just have
Paul Coffey. Yeah,
Caleb Jones scored. Bruce, my good thing is I had a good thing. I'm going to go with a different one. My good thing is this. Listen, I coach a couple minor hockey teams. One of them was in a tournament this Christmas, and just going to the rink every day, it's a joy to go to the rink every day and be involved in hockey. And I know, so my good thing is this: hockey is more than the Oilers. And I know, like, if you go online, people are so sour about the Oilers, and justifiably right now. But just remember, break out of that. Pick up a stick. Pick up a whistle, be a referee, go out to your slough or to the local rink and just skate around a little bit and play hockey. Get involved in coaching. Become a referee. Do something in hockey outside the Oilers, because it's a hard go, and it has been a hard go for at least for a long, long time being an Oilers fan. And it's easy to lose enthusiasm for hockey, but I'll tell you what, like, the Oilers game didn't matter to me, because everyone involved in the team, and almost every year, like, you can have misery in minor hockey too. I can assure you of that. With tiering, if you're in the wrong tier and you're getting whipped every game. But minor hockey can be this absolutely fantastic experience. And of course, nobody on earth cares about the fortunes, like the score of your team, except for the people involved in your team. And the intensity of interest there is fantastic. How much people care, the players on the team, the parents around a team, the coaches. It's this weird, wonderful, intense cauldron of hockey joy and hockey despair and hockey emotion outside of the NHL. And that's my good thing.
How'd your team do?
We won the championship.
Ooh, that's a good thing.
We are blessed with some absolutely fantastic hockey players. It's the highest level of bantam no-hit hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, we have our defense corps, Bruce. There's a few guys there.
Erik Karlsson.
The Oilers. Well, they're the Erik Karlsson of our group of
no-hit league
goalie. It's a wonderful group of players, but there's all kinds of great minor hockey teams, and often it has to do with tiering. If you're in the right tier, you thrive, and if you're in the wrong tier, you don't. Is the truth about minor hockey. So, nonetheless, it's fantastic to be involved, and I have been involved now for about 20 years almost.
Yeah, well, I have to say today, sitting in the building probably helped a little bit, but I was able to sort of detach from Oilers because I was able to write this game off pretty early. Just enjoy the tremendous performance by the Sharks. Man, did they ever play a great game. They would have beat a lot of teams today. They might not have beat them quite so easily, but they would have beat a lot of teams. And they had you hear about the Sharks circling. Well, they were circling the zone, and the puck was circling the zone. And then the Oilers were just had their heads on, where to go. Where did he go? Uh-oh, he's over there putting the puck in the net. Maybe I better skate over there. And it was, you talk about tiering. I actually said to Anna at one point, this reminds me of one of those games in minor hockey where we hadn't got the tiering straight yet because it was that much domination that one stretch.
Well, Bruce, there was it wasn't quite the shift, the famous shift that Strudwick was out for, but there was. I did count it, and I didn't actually count the shift. So it started off with the Oilers killing a penalty, so they were behind the 8 ball on this shift to start. But that was so the Sharks gained the zone. This was in I think the second period, and they gained the zone at about the 9:40 mark
and stayed there
of the second period. And Bruce, they stayed there. They kept buzzing. There was 40 seconds left.
Mark, I remember.
And then for another, it was 7:44. It was 2 minutes later. Yeah. 2 minutes of constant buzzing around, absolute domination of the Oilers. And the Oilers didn't even play badly then. They were hanging in there. They were generally they had their responsible defensive players out there. They were generally playing their positions, and they didn't make a lot of mistakes in that time period. Until finally, I think it was Weidman who got out of the penalty box, let a guy open for a slot shot, a grade 8 chance in the slot. And 2 straight minutes of San Jose offensive zone perfection on the cycle.
Yeah, I tweeted after that. There was a timeout right after that, and I tweeted that it wasn't a double minor, but it sure looked like a 4-minute power play because they were just all over the Edmonton zone. And just kept it coming and coming and coming. Just cycle. So, yeah.
What's your bad thing?
Great. Well, there was lots of bad things today, but I got to isolate on a single incident that was the turning point of the game. You're going to guess what it is. The Oilers took a 1-0 lead, and 5 seconds after, I swear, maybe it was 10 seconds that they had the lead, and they gave up a 150-foot 3-on-1 that was so wide open that all 3 guys were able to slow down and go bingo, bango, bingo, bango, bongo into the net. It was like a four passes and an open net shot. Because poor Caleb Jones and his 6 games of NHL experience was absolutely exposed by his more experienced teammates, and of them in particular, I have to single out Drake Caggiula for an absolutely horrid decision to try it. I mean, he was covering the pinching defenseman, and then he decided, he missed his pinch, maybe I can miss one too, and then they sprang that 3-on-1. I mean, they were coming over their own blue line. I thought, this is a goal. Sure enough.
So Benning's pinch, he lost the battle on the pinch. So he lost the battle in the ozone. He's partly responsible. But Caggiula is back there. And that was like, it truly is a peewee play, right? Like that kind of single-mindedness going for the puck, not being aware of this on-ice situation, a flyby, a horrible kind of a greedy offensive move, frankly. Getting on the wrong side of the puck, like what a terrible play by Caggiula, and not the first, man. Like he has just been responsible.
Nor the
He and
last. He had
Lucic,
others later in the game.
he and Lucic have leaked way more grade A scoring chances than any other Oilers wingers. And I know Kajula scored some, so people are kind of more forgiving of him, but
Some are.
I'm not. Like at this point, I'm done. And that play was great.
Well,
That was the exhibit A, and Drake Kajula is outstayed his welcome in the NHL. Like he you can't make that play repeatedly. And if it was the first time he did it, or the third time, or this year, we wouldn't say anything. But this isn't that. It's repeated. It's ongoing.
and it's a game management thing. I mean, you just took the lead. The next shift, go out there and pay attention to your P's and Q's and consolidate that lead. And I mean, literally, the Oilers led this game for 16 seconds, and they trailed it for 50 minutes. But they did have the lead so briefly, and just instantly basically gave it back. And again, credit to the Sharks. I mean, the execution on that play was very pretty indeed, but it looked like a practice drill, because there was one guy, and it was only one guy that was remotely in position to make a defensive play, and they just passed it around him.
So Bruce, my bad thing is the same as my number.
Okay.
I'm just going to go with that. So let's just go with your number before we get into my bad thing, because it's going to be quite a rant.
Oh, okay. My bad.
You have a number?
Yeah. Oh, my number. Yeah, I got a number. I got 6.
What's your number?
This might actually. It wouldn't surprise me if this has something to do with what you're getting into. What's the difference, Slant? 6 is the number of Edmonton Oilers forwards that had 0 shots on net in today's game.
Who are they?
6 out of the 12 forwards. Jujhar Khaira, 0 shot attempts. Milan Lucic, no shots. Kyle Brodziak, no shots. Kyle Yamamoto, no shot attempts. Drake Kajula, no shots. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, no shot attempts. So that's half the forward core that didn't even get a bloody shot on net.
Ouch. So Bruce, my number, it's like my number is like it's a 6 or 7. Okay. And this is the number of players on the Oilers who I think at this point in the season have proven that they need to be in the press box far more often, or in the minors, or on some other team. They have outstayed their welcome on the Oilers at this point, and they are really starting to hurt the team. And I'm going to start with Kyle Brodziak at center. Just not getting it done, Bruce. And it's not even close. And there was one play in the third period. All he has to do, it's just like these, I don't know what happened. Like when the guys get older, it's a shoot in, and he couldn't even get it. He couldn't even dump it in correctly. He couldn't even get it in. It's as these guys get older, they can't execute that simple little play. Okay, so there's Brodziak. Like he's got it. Like I don't mind him as your 14th forward. He can't keep getting ice time like he's getting. Going down the list, I have still patience. I have patience for Puljujarvi and Yamamoto. I have some patience for Ratty and Reeder. I have patience for Khaira and Cassian, who's played really well. But Kajula, Spooner, and Lucic, and especially Milan Lucic. I mean, this game was so painful, Bruce. He gets set up by Khaira on a nice chance early on. He just whiffs it. And that's Milan Lucic's right now. That's all. He can't execute at this level. Then there's another play where I think it was Khaira rushing the puck, or someone rushing, and he goes offside.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally there was the face-off goal where it's his man. He's standing flat-footed as 3 Sharks are rushing to the net in anticipation of scoring, and it's actually his man off the draw who scored the goal, Carlson. And the game's too fast for him, Bruce. He can't play anymore, and I don't know what they're gonna like. I don't have any good answers other than you've got to sit him. You can't keep playing him because he is starting to leak goals against. I mean, I don't know what his plus minus is, but
brutal, worst on the team.
Yeah, he shouldn't be playing anymore. He's got to sit. And I know he's got, 4 years left on his contract. Yeah. And let's face it, like the Lucic contract in and of itself was a big enough gamble, a big enough move that it's going to get Chiarelli fired, right, and deservedly so. And it probably is going to happen sooner or later. But I just think the coach has got to, I don't know. So Lucic is on my list.
That's 4 forwards. So who else you got? Defensemen,
okay.
Goalies?
I've seen enough of Garrison. He didn't play tonight. I've seen enough of Weidman, who can't handle it. And Bruce, I hate to say this, but this is more iffy, but I'm Matt Benning. The guy he just struggles to make a pass. Just repeatedly, just the pass is a little bit off, a little bit this way or that way, and it just screws up whatever's going on the ice. Maybe he can hang in there on the bottom pairing, but
I'll go to bat for Matt Benning and say
right.
he's to the defense core. What some of the guys you mentioned up front,
Reader maybe,
Tobias Reader, were to the forwards. That
I'll give you that.
Still young and developing. Should be nearing his peak. Needs to be better, but does show some sign. He played 23 minutes 36 seconds today, most on the team. Matt Benning. That's a surprise. I didn't expect.
I'll back off the Matt. I could actually see Matt Benning again on that. I wouldn't, but I've seen enough of those other players. Like
I want to see Matt Benning on the third pairing, and the problem is right now they don't have enough defensemen to properly slot anybody. I mean, right now Adam Larson looks like he's completely over his head, let alone any of these other guys. Well,
Larson and Nurse are being shown up as what they are, which is they're a good support defenseman and a top. Nurse top four. Nurse looked okay this year with Russell, and he had that anchor. And Larson looked okay with Clefbaum. They worked well together, but Nurse and Larson, man, that pairing is not getting it done. And although they're not that terrible. Nurse had a decent game, I thought. Actually, I didn't see him as making horrendous mistakes repeatedly. We didn't even talk about Cam Talbot. I could see Gravel. I wouldn't mind, like, if you had Gravel and Benning. But right now, when Russell comes back, I just can't wait for him to come back. And I'd love to see Russell and Nurse again together. And I'd love to see Caleb Jones try it with Larson. And I think that actually might work, even in a top four role, because Caleb Jones can move the puck.
Yeah.
And that's what Larson needs to play with. He can't play with Nurse, who struggles to pass the puck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Weidman supposedly.
Your voice cut out there, Bruce. Is there something wrong with your mic?
Still gone?
Oh, it's there now.
Okay, Weidman's supposedly good at moving the puck, and he made a couple nice passes today, but he was getting overwhelmed out there.
Yeah, he was.
Two penalties, and he was just in his defensive zone. He just couldn't handle the pressure.
I wanted to see him play like he did. He was an unknown to me, and okay, I've seen enough now, I think. Same with Garrison. Caleb Jones, though, just continues to impress. So I think that they have a player there, and if there's nothing, there's been little good, Bruce, out of this last losing streak, obviously, but that's the one silver lining, is that Caleb Jones was thrust into action and has met the test, in my opinion. And I like the player. He's going to be on the. I don't think he's going to be leaving the Oilers this year. I think he's on the team the rest of the year. He's made the team. That's how I see it. And until Clefbaum comes back, I don't see a better choice than putting him with Larson. So, of course,
it's an interesting idea.
What would you do? I mean, Russell will be back.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, when all the defensemen come back, it may just be a matter of the numbers game catching up to him, and them more or less being forced to send him up or dispose of other players.
You mean when Clefbaum comes back? Yeah, that's
Clefbaum and Sekera and Russell are all back. Then it gets pretty deep in there. But for now, he's one guy who's stepped up. I haven't been too impressed with the other emergency fill-in guys that you mentioned, Weidman and Garrison. And Gravel, I mean, I like his effort. I like some of the plays he makes, but he spends an awful lot of time in his own end.
Yeah, he's I don't mind him on the bottom pairing, but maybe he and Benning, playing 14 minutes a game.
Okay, as a third pairing, I think. But right now they're all getting kind of thrown to the wolves a little bit. He played 18 and a half minutes today, Gravel, and that's pretty healthy minutes for a player of that caliber, which I would say is a number 6 defenseman.
So, Bruce, do you think that Chiarelli survives this? So let's just end with this. We'll both weigh in on this. Do you think that Chiarelli survives this losing streak?
Well, it depends how long the losing streak is, but our colleague Kurt Levens sort of repeatedly mentioned this in his game grades today, and I was getting similar vibes off of the off of the radio on my Twitter feed. People really thinking this might be uh, the time. And certainly yesterday he was taking a real beating from some of the mainstream media guys, Chiarelli, um, and the usual beating from elements of the fan base and the analytics crowd. Um, but
You mean
when this,
90% of the fan base at this point?
yeah. And then his team comes out the next day and they lay that big steaming dump on the Oilers logo at center ice of that spanking new building that they're so proud of. And as a fan there, I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my ticket stub that says $188 for one ticket to a game, and thinking, how do you justify this? Like, either your team can't compete against a team like the Sharks, or they didn't compete against a team like the Sharks today. You could read it either way. You could say some of column A and some of column B,
They
but they
can't
were
compete,
not
Bruce.
competitive in that game. And I didn't like the level of emotional energy, and I certainly hated just the depth on the team. And sure, we're down 2 or 3 guys to injury, and sure, San Jose just got one of their big wheels back, and they're pretty healthy. But Edmonton, like line after line, was just getting overwhelmed. I mean, poor Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He's trying to run a second line there with Drake Kajula and Jesse Puljujarvi on his wings, and he might as well be a helicopter for the support he's getting from his wings. Like
he didn't have a very good game himself, though, Bruce.
No, he had a terrible game because
he lost his man on that second goal. He wandered away from him. That was his man who scored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kurt saw him better than I did. He was -3. And you know what? When he was on the ice today, Nuge, the Oilers had 1 shot on net and the Sharks had 12 at 5-on-5. And the 1 shot that the Oilers had came with 10 seconds left in the third period. He almost got goosed. And it was, but his line just wasn't up to the caliber of San Jose's second or third line, both of which had 3 NHL proven forwards on them, as opposed to the Oilers having really Nuge and 2 guys that are, up and down to say the best.
Yeah, I don't know what the other. I'm usually full of suggestions on line combinations, and my best bet is to go with 3 lines and play 3 lines, and then if someone on one of those lines isn't performing, replace them with a guy on the 4th line. Just run the. They're all young. A lot of these guys are young. Just give them ice time and see what happens, because I don't see 4 lines on this team that can play right now. So go with 3 lines, and maybe they're going to go with the 3 centers approach, which worked for the Oilers for a time last year in December. That was when they had a fairly good streak.
That would be a little bit more of a plan, but I mean, they got no wingers that got more than 3 goals. They got Kajula with 7 goals. The last one was on November 20th, Hitchcock's first game. He hasn't scored since then. And he's still comfortably among the leaders and forwards, because they really have the 4 scoring forwards, one of whom, Chiasson, is hurt.
Well, I'd go with Ratty and Reeder, Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, and Kara and Cassian, and the 3 centers right now, and just go with 3 lines.
And how proven are those 6 wingers?
They are not
proven.
I'm not saying this is a good solution.
No, I know. There's no good solution, David, and that's where I'm going with this. Is there just is no good solution. Today, I heard Ken Hitchcock talking about how he had basically no choice other than your solution, I guess, but to use Jujhar Khaira in the 3C position. And this is because the guy that they had who started the season at 3C, they traded him away for Ryan Spooner, who was so good that he wound up in the press box today, even with the team being shorthanded a little bit. Spooner got press box. That was a 1-for-1 trade that Chiarelli made earlier this year. It was supposed to help the team.
Wouldn't that be funny if, of all the trades that he made, that Chiarelli's made, that's the trade that sinks him? Because Strome would be helping this team a little bit right now. He would give them one more player who can actually play in the top 9 and anchor that 3rd line. And now they're just kind of
lost at sea without the anchor.
This who do they play next? This is not good.
They're playing Winnipeg Jets. New Year's Eve. They're going to come in here New Year's Eve, fresh off of a pair of home ice losses of their own. So they're either going to be an angry, snarly group that's going to beat the holy crap out of the Oilers, or maybe they're in a slump. And I think they lost Bufflin today, so that'll take a little bit of their. But I mean, you talk about that. Winnipeg lost Bufflin. Nashville lost PK Subban for a bunch of time. Dallas lost John Klingberg for a bunch of time. Anaheim lost Cam Fowler for a bunch of time. I mean, these are number one or certainly top pairing defensemen. Other teams in the Western Conference losing those guys. St. Louis lost Alex Pietrangelo for most of the year. They're starting to come on. And so when you say, woe is us, we lost Oscar Klefbom, well, guess what? A whole bunch of other teams are dealing with the same thing, and they got more depth and they're able to deal with it a little bit more expediently than the Oilers, who have just gone completely south since the two injuries.
Aside from heading into the season, Bruce, my biggest worry, aside from goaltending, because that's so crucial, was the defense. And you could just see they weren't going to be capable of withstanding an injury on the defense. Just seemed highly unlikely. Even looked like they could lose one guy from their top four, but if they lost two, it looked like it was going to be this. Wow. That's what it looked like it was going to be, and it is.
And I maintain they've lost three because Sekera, they've just never had him, and he's put a huge hole in the payroll, and the guy that he should be isn't there and isn't available. So they're missing three of their top five.
So, of course, all the Chris Russell haters are realizing just how valuable Chris Russell is now.
They're saying it's because Klefbom's out and that the media is giving Russell credit when really they should be giving it to Klefbom.
Oh, it's both. Like, come on, it's both of them. Klefbom's a very good player, a good player.
More for sure.
But Russell's been a good player.
It's a serious kick in the gonads to lose them both at once.
Chris Russell was playing well this year, and anyone who doesn't see that, well, whatever.
Well, the Oilers had, in Hitchcock's first game, 10 games, they gave in 21 goals, and it looked like they turned around their defensive play. Well, in his 11th game, that was the game that they both got hurt. And since then, they played 8 games, including that one, and allowed 35 goals in 8 games, including 25 goals against in the current 5-game losing streak, 5 goals per game.
It's all cuts of Oscar Klefbom, though, no, man. It's nothing to do with Chris Russell at all.
It's a combination of things, but losing Klefbom is certainly the major event of.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got the dog ready to wanting to get in there.
That's the cat.
The cat.
That's the cat. Yeah, she's out the door again. She wants attention.
Bruce, let's leave it there.
All right.
And
have we fired Shirley yet, or are we just talking about it?
I think they're gonna. I don't know.
Timing is. I mean, tomorrow's Sunday. They're not going to do it then. New Year's Eve is Monday. They're probably not going to do it then. So, but I would say once we get into January, it could. I wouldn't bet against it. Let's put it that way, and with cause, frankly.
Well, you need. One of the reasons you fire people is the fans are so mad they're pulling up their hair, they're refusing to come to the games, and you're kind of looking for that because you want the boost of firing the guy and then everyone being happy for a while. So maybe they want to wait about 5 more games until people are really, really mad.
Well, the fans spotted him the first 4 letters of boost today. The boos were raining down after the 6-1 goal when Talbot wandered from the net they got the 1 power play and then they coughed up the shorty. Like that was just sort of the final insult.
That play by Talbot.
The boos were coming down pretty good at that moment.
That was such a horrendous goal against Talbot. First of all, Talbot's play on the puck was horrendous, obviously. But then there was like 3 guys puck watching as a San Jose player kind of skates in the middle of them and pops it in the net. It was the worst.
Yeah, it was the final insult for sure. Anyway, that was the Oilers did not get a boost from that, but they got some booze.
More boost. All right. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully better game for us all on New Year's Eve.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.